Hey everybody, looks like we are here for yet another Wednesday. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. So let's see who we have today. So far we have Mr. Roy, how you doing? And Wendy, good to see you, Roy and Wendy. John, how's it going? So glad you guys are here. So look at that, we have the chat going on, the chat window. We have the artwork, and so we got a good setup so far. Everything's good, coming off of a really great interview of Steve Leahy, which was really fantastic. So guys, if you can, hit that like button and subscribe button if you haven't subscribed, and we'll get this show going. So let's see. So we are in part 4 of painting the Irish lass, and I'm having a good time doing this painting because I really feel I'm just working on the softness of it and the sensitive handling of the forms. Colette, how are you? Good to see you. So glad you are here. So that is very cool. So that I'm excited about you guys all being here. So thanks so much. Hey Chris, how's it going? Good to see you, Chris. And Patty, how are you, Patty? So cool. So we got a lot of great people here already. So I'm excited. And so let's see. So I'm going to take my Extreme Patriot Arrow, the customized one, and we're going to load it in with the light mixture. I like to load the light mixture in, you guys know how it goes, right? So when you're just, starting to paint on a particular painting for the day, you always want to make sure that you are starting with the light mixture, because you're not making any big decisions. You want to warm up to it, right? You don't want to go, how do I say? You don't want to go willy-nilly or like a cowboy. You want to take your time. Hey, the nameless subscriber, good to see you. How are you today? So glad you're here. Okay, so you guys can't see my reference over in Pure Ref, but I'm going to go bring her up. This is going to be one quick second. And let's see. Okay, great. So what I'm looking at, so I'm looking at the painting. So you don't want to just jump into painting. You want to pretty much decide, what direction I want to go. What do I want to develop, and what am I ignoring? Those are all very important elements, especially what I'm ignoring. So I definitely want to come in with that. Hey Fabio, good to see you. How are you, mate? So glad you're here, sir. Thank you for coming here all the way from Australia. That's so exciting, and I really appreciate that. What time is it over in Australia, mate? Hey Willie, how's it going? Okay, so looking at this right now, as everyone is getting settled, I'm just going to definitely want to work on her bun, because I feel that's something that I might be ignoring just a little bit, So let's see. Now, you always want to make sure that when you are painting the bun, that it doesn't actually go into her skull. You want to make room for the cranial mass, okay? That's something that was pointed out to me in art school one time. When I didn't do it, it was very embarrassing. So always make sure that you have room for the rest of this skull when you are doing the bun, because it kind of lays on top, okay? So let's make sure we take care of that. Oh, the nameless subscriber asks if he thinks I'll finish it tonight. No, I might actually go in with the medium mixture, but I usually take about 10 to 15 hours on a painting, and I really take my time, I don't want to rush it. As you can see, right now what I want to do is really just begin to get the structure of that bun in her hair. So I'm going to look at the large shapes, everybody. You always want to look at the large shapes. Hey Patrick, how you doing, sir? Good to see you. Brad's here. How are you, Brad? And as you see, I'm just worrying about the large shapes. These are abstract shapes, of course, so I'm not going too crazy. Just the large shapes. The small shapes they'll fall into place. So I want you to always squint your eyes and look at the large shapes and then go from there. And you might have to sculpt some of these shapes out with the eraser, and that's okay. Fabio asks if I'm running a tire store with the compressor. That's funny, you know. Actually, that was a quiet compressor, but as you know, those compressors from California Air Tools, they're really only quiet for like a year. And if you're using them a lot, you know. So, and then I have a dog outside, so that's always interesting in the live stream, you know. It's always good to have sound effects. And let's see. And let's see. Yeah, you know, there's a dog outside, so that's always interesting, you know. I guess it's going to be part of the live stream today. And let's see here. And we're just going to pull this up here. And so how's everybody doing today? What are some of your new latest projects? I'd love to hear. You know, what are some of the things that you guys are doing? You guys are funny. So what do you think of my... If you look back there, I did some really cool decorations for you guys. Only the best, high tech, you know. So Brad is still setting up the studio, and so Patrick's happy to be here. Oh wow, I'm so glad that you're here too. So the nameless subscriber is working on an airbrush t-shirt. That's really cool. So what's the design on that, sir? I really admire you airbrush t-shirt painters on the airbrush, because you guys, I was talking with Roy this week of, you know, how much control you need, because you have several things going on, such as higher air pressure, and the fact is that, you know, you can ruin a shirt, so there's a lot going on there. Oh, the time here, Fabio, is actually 9:39 p.m. So it's not too late. Hey, Micah, how you doing? Good to see ya. So glad you're here. Oh, Mike says he found most of the noise of his California air compressor makes is from the axle and the plastic tires rattling. Interesting. So could I do something with them to quiet it down, perhaps, Mike? Good to see you, by the way. And as you see, I'm just developing that bun. I'm not going too crazy, right? I can definitely get in there, but you can see just something as simple as that bun you have to give it time and you have to give it some attention. There we go. And then I'm going to go ahead and lower the values because the values are much closer to one another than what I have here, and I can erase some of the lights that are in there. So I'm going to develop this slowly. There we go. And so let's see. The nameless subscriber says, just a bunch of angels and demons embracing each other like good and evil. Wow, that sounds like a very interesting composition. Very, very cool. And my guest says he's working on axle noise, but putting a thick pillow under the front support helps a little. Okay, that's a good idea. I got to find an old pillow. Kind of using them all now, right now, but I definitely will find something similar to that. And little by little we'll get this going, you know. We're not going to get too fixated on it. We'll work on it and then we'll come back. But you can see I gave it some attention, right? And now I could definitely work on something else. But what I definitely have to do is resolve some of those light shapes, which right now are kind of nondescript. And I'll fix them as we go down the line, you know. So Bill Murray, that sounds great. Oh, Bill Sneakin, how are you today? How's it going, sir? Good to see you. And we're just going to work on the hairline. Remember, we're still in the light mixture, okay? Always remember that. We're still in the light mixture. Always look at the edges and the 1 second rule. Look for a second and then paint for a second. When doing hair, always make sure that you're going with the, make sure you're doing the hair, always make sure you're worrying about the shape and the value and also the direction of the hairs as you're painting that shape. Okay, that helps a lot. Hey Rick, good to see you. How's it going? Yes, working on that airbrush for you, just tweaking some things there. Making sure it's perfect before I send that out, Rick. And I'm also sending you some free gifts with that. So I'll definitely take care of you. I just want to make sure these airbrushes are perfect before they leave my studio, you know. Yeah, so I do, on my website, paintingclips.com, I do sell these websites and sell these customized airbrushes, but it takes a little bit because I really put them through a lot of tests. I actually work with them. If I hear any weird noises, I'll keep tweaking it until that noise is gone, you know. That's really important. But thanks for your patience, Rick. I really appreciate that, sir. But pretty soon, I'm going to get you a tracking number on that. There we go. And so remember, we want to do the 1 second rule, right? First. And then we want to see the direction of those hairs that we're working on. We want to make sure we don't get too dark and we don't put darks that aren't there, you know? Oh, my pleasure, Rick. Thank you so much for your patience, sir. And as we're working on that, we can take, let's always try with a least aggressive eraser first, and then go further and go more aggressive. Todd, how are you? Good to see you, sir. Yes, Bill, how's the missus feeling? And I'm just going to try and shape out what's happening with that hairline. A lot of times what really makes somebody a likeness of somebody has to do with the hairline, because the hairline will actually give you the size of the forehead and the proportions and everything. So it's really very, very important, more important than we think. Okay, so I have two aggressive erasers. I have this one and this one. This one's even more aggressive than this one. So let's try this one first. And let's see. So we're just going to make sure we sort of plow the field here and try and get the feeling of her hairline. Very crucial. And so with this, you're getting actually the negative shapes in the hairline, you know, and those hairs coming down. So again, you're looking at the direction, right? The direction, the gesture of the hair. Very important, you know. The nameless subscriber says, Tim, are you on DeviantArt by any chance? No, sir, no. But I do admire the guys on there. I mean, I love digital painting. I find mostly digital arts there, and I just think it's great. Are you on there, the nameless subscriber? Because that would be pretty cool. I'll check it out. And Fabio says, do you recommend flat on the table as you are on an easel? Great question. So I recommend whatever is comfortable for you. There's no right or wrong answer, just what's comfortable. Each really brings its own set of pluses and negatives. One of the pluses I feel working on an easel is that it's flat and you can see everything much better. And also you have ability for more arm movements and body movements. But also is that you're not as comfortable, right? You're not as comfortable, so that makes a big difference. Working flat is really cool because it's like when you were a kid working on a table. It's very intimate and close. It's comforting, and it just feels like when you were working as a kid. I do like working on a flat surface. My painting is much more stable. My pencils, everything is much more stable. It's not rolling around. So that's basically what I feel. So I first started working on a flat surface like this only because I was doing YouTube videos and I wanted everyone to see what I was doing. And I couldn't do it on an easel with that 45-degree angle, which I hate. So I like the fact that I'm overhead and everyone can see it really well. After a while, I just started really getting accustomed to it because when I was a kid, that's how I always painted, like on the kitchen or dining room table. And then I got a drafting table when I was in high school and college, and the easel came later. So I still work on easels. You see back there is my easel. So I still work on that for larger pastel paintings. But as far as airbrush, right now, believe it or not, I feel more comfortable doing it this way. Just because, you know, it just, like I said, it just feels more intimate for me, you know. Oh, so the nameless subscriber said you don't post that much. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. I love digital art. If I had all the time in the world, I would do more of it. But I do try and do it at least a couple of times a week, right? You got to keep on those programs. Oh my God, if you don't, you'll pay the price. You're welcome, Fabio. You're very welcome. So I'm going to try those pillows, and Roy says that it is those front wheels. So we're definitely going to go down that route, you know. And let's see. So on our channel, what's coming up? I did an interview of Mr. Drew Blair, and so very exciting. So many great questions and information Drew gave me. I already pre-recorded it last Friday. Drew was so gracious to give me an hour and a half, and we talked a lot, and just information I think everyone's really going to love. So I'm thinking Friday I'm going to put it up. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe, because this way I can send you have to subscribe and hit the bell icon so you'll be alerted when Drew's interview is airing. I'm going to air it as a premiere, which is really cool. Scott, how's it going? Good to see you, sir. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you, sir. Yes, I know I know you probably have to work in the morning, Scott, but I really appreciate you coming in and saying hello. Thank you, sir. Oh, so Willie says that sounds awesome. Yes, definitely, Willie. You're gonna love it because I ask questions that other people normally would not ask. I guess not your stereotypical questions that you get when people are interviewing artists such as Steve Leahy, Drew Blair, Kent Lind. So I tend to do research on the artists I'm talking to, and with that research I try to ask poignant questions that cut right through and really get that sense of perspective with that particular person. I'm like talking to people. There's a compressor again. Wow, 4 a.m. Thank you, sir, for staying up to 4 a.m. That is such an honor. Thank you so much. I don't take that lightly, Scott. Thank you. Well, we think you're all right there, my guest. So you're all right in my book. I think every one of us have screws loose. That's okay. That makes you interesting. That makes me interesting, and all the interesting people always have a little bit loose, I think. Hey Bill, how you doing? Good to see you, sir. I'm so glad you made it. So we have Bill in the house. And Fabio says, Drew is an absolute legend. You are so true, and you're using his color theory. That is fantastic to hear. Yes, he has such a great, soothing voice, and he is just amazing. You're going to love this interview because really getting to know him, getting to know him within that hour and a half, I feel is really, I think I know everyone's going to enjoy it. I'm just editing it. I want to make sure that I had the visuals and everything this time because I was unable to get Drew on Wednesday night, so I had to, when he was available, I went ahead and did it, when he was available, which was on last Friday night. So I recorded it. Okay, so I think we did pretty good with the hair right now. We definitely can move on, but it's nice that we touched on that, right? So now we're going to look at where else are we ignoring, right? Where else can we give more information that until now we kind of were, skirting the subject, so to speak. So what I'm going to be doing is I think we can maybe darken, we can work on the clothes here, right? Her sweater, and as you see I started working on some of the texture of that sweater. You know how us Irish are, and it's usually chilly there. So we usually have sweaters and turtlenecks and stuff like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through my footballs and I'm going to be looking for this, because what I want to do is I want to go ahead and strengthen the dark underneath here. Now I'm going to show you something, is we're doing something different today, is we're using magnets, which is really great, and these magnets were a gift from a very, very cool person. Colette sent me these, so I'm very excited. Thank you so much, Colette. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to use them to pretty much hide, we're going to use that to mask off the face, and we're going to darken there. So let's make that happen. So let's see. Now I used to use the footballs, but now I'm still gonna be doing the footballs, but I think magnets will kind of speed things up a little bit. What do you guys think? Very cool, very cool. These work really fantastically. And so we're gonna load up my other Extreme Patriot. This is the Extreme Patriot 105. It has a larger cup. I also customize these as well, you know. And hey Camilo, how are you, sir? So good to see you. So Camilo says, any tips to reduce the noise of the air compressor? You have a Sparmax TC620. You live in an apartment and you like to paint at night. I will give this over to our other people here in the comments. Someone said a pillow underneath the wheel might be something to do, or maybe putting it in a closet. What other ideas do you guys have that could help Mr. Rodriguez quiet his compressor? So that would be great. Yeah, I know. It's like, why aren't all compressors quiet, right? Like those really expensive ones. That would be really good. So I'm going to take my medium mixture, new labels. Actually, they're not handwritten anymore. This is handwritten and drawn, but let me show you. See, they're handwritten and drawn, but now I'm printing them out on the printer, which is good. So let's go ahead and load up this beautiful airbrush here. Ow. Ugh. I gotta start working out more. That's my resolution, not New Year's resolution, but just resolution. I need to do that, you know. Okay, medium mixture. So when I do the medium mixture, I make sure I'm far away from my painting because things splash, you know. And let's see. So I'm far away, putting in that medium mixture. Okay, so this is where the medium mixture starts. Notice this is part 4. Tim's going high tech. Yes, high tech, guys. That's for sure, Chris. So definitely, everyone's saying great dog portrait that Mr. Bill did. Fantastic. Oh my God, put the compressor outside and buy a longer house, the nameless subscriber said. Move to the country, right? You know? It's really hard, Camilo, right? I mean, that's like the nature of the beast, right? What we do. Always start your airbrush off on another piece of paper so you know it's working correctly. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to very quickly, I'm going to begin to darken this shirt and keep that hard edge perpendicular and not parallel, okay? And crawl along that surface. You don't have to find the perfect edge, you know, that's too much pressure. The perfect edge, oh my God, I don't know how anyone could find the perfect edge. Sometimes you get lucky. So you see, as a fact, you need to do a video on air compressor filters. Look at that, air compressor filters, wow. That's some good information there, Bill. That would be a great video, by the way. And I'm just paying attention to what's happening with that shirt or her sweater, turtleneck, and crawling along the surface, perpendicular and not parallel, right? And, oh, she looks like an alien with the white. That's pretty funny, Wendy. Yeah, she does, right? That's pretty hilarious. And let's see, the Easel subscriber says, buy a smaller $800 50 PSI one. That's what the Nameless subscriber uses. Okay. Yeah, you know, if you go buy a California Air Tools compressor, it's going to be quiet, but only for a year. And if you work a lot like me, it's going to last you even less. I do about 8 hours a day, and that's on a bad day. You know, that's on a slow day. Um, so definitely, you know, honestly, I'm thinking of, you know, when money gets better, is to go ahead and buy one of those quiet compressors. I know the prices are astronomical, but I might just bite the bullet, guys. You know, I just might bite the bullet. I know it sucks, but you know, I don't know if it. You know, do you guys really think those quiet compressors really warrant that kind of money? What do you think? Are they inflating it because it's so specialized? I don't know, you know. Oh, you can't get California in Australia, Camilo. Definitely. Wow. I'll definitely keep an eye out for you, Camilo, from my Australian friends. I'm going to ask Paul McDonald and some others, and I'll get back to you, Camilo. Camilo, go ahead and email me at paintedglyphs@gmail.com. And I'll put it right here in the description. And paintedglyphs@gmail.com. I'm actually going to go ahead and okay, there it is. It's in the comments. Okay, so look at that. Look at the comments, and you can email me, and I'll see if I can find more information for you. Can't promise, but I can, you know, say I'll look, you know. 'Cause I know it's not easy, you know. You don't want to wake people up, and there we go. And you see, I'm actually starting with that little bit of a lip there in the turtleneck, and I'll refine it later. But you don't want to start erasing when the ink is still wet or your paint is still wet, because you're just going to, if you're working on paper, you're going to tear apart the paper. And if you're working in, let's say, Createx, like Wicked, or the illustration paints, you're just going to tear up and, you know, tear up the paint. So definitely give it time before you go ahead and do that, okay? And let's lift this up, move these over. There we go, and see if we have a nice, we have a nice beautiful edge, which is good, and we can maybe clean things up a little bit. Freehand shields are great, but you also want to have good aim where you can actually, you know, paint without them to clean things up. So definitely always look to do that. You know, practice your aim. That's so important. Really is. Let's see what else I have that I can actually work on. See what else I have where I can work on that shirt there, because I have a lot. I have a face shield. Okay, here we go. This is perfect. So let's put this on there. And you know, you're going to keep moving around, keep trying until you find what you're looking for, just like in other aspects of life. You know, we're going to keep playing around until we get it. So we're going to do the magnets, yes, once again, which is going to be Weird Wild Stuff. And so let's see, perhaps I should have had this one on there from the very beginning, right? So let's do this. Okay. Make sure. Let's make sure that we are good before we go any further. So where is my razor blade? I'm just going to look underneath and see if it matches. And I believe it does. I did put my footballs down. So you see, I can just reactivate the tape. But now that I went ahead and got magnets, I can just put them in. Now, what I did was I purchased a piece of metal, which is for bulletin boards, and it was at Amazon.com. It cost me $17, and it's perfect. It fits right on my table, and you know, and I just go ahead and work straight on it and no problem whatsoever. But these magnets are fantastic. Thank you, Colette. I really appreciate that so much. And look how great they work and look how nice they look. I mean, they just look amazing, right? Anytime, Camilo, so you give me an email, shoot me an email, and I'll definitely see if I can get that information for you. I'll just send some email blasts out there, some of the groups, and I'll let you know what I find. Okay, great. So now, see, now we're cooking with gas, right? So now we can, 1 second rule, just gonna look before I paint for 1 second. I'm gonna paint for a second, and then I'm going to look for a second. And I'm even going to increase my, because the thing is, when you want to have more of a smooth gradation, always increase the size of the distance between the airbrush and the paper. Go. As you can see, I'm just worrying about the large shapes. I'm squinting my eyes and looking at the large shapes. The individual small shapes, they come later. But you want to get that nice dark edge along there. And you know, if we ignore the shirt or the sweater, it's really not going to serve us. And at the end, we're either going to have to scramble to get it to have the same amount of detail, or it's just going to look like I ran out of gas. So definitely we want to make sure it doesn't look like we ran out of gas. 1 second rule keeps us honest. Okay. And you're going to take an iced tea break here. Oh, that was good. Okay. Drink them if you have them. Or smoke them if you have them. But these days, smoking is not popular. So people usually don't say smoke them if you have them. That was like in the old war movies. Just extend this out. Remember, Rome wasn't built in a day, so you're not going to go crazy and try and do too much. The reason being is you want to make sure you're painting the ensemble. You're not painting a shirt, lips, mouth, ears, and hopefully it all fits together at the end. So you're taking your time and you're working on the large shapes, and we're going to make sure that everything is painted together. So it looks like it's painted together. And just worrying about the individual shapes here. So Fabio asks, would you mind touching on the differences between using illustration paint for this method? Can it be achieved with the same results? Not the same results. You can get very similar results, but not the same. I mean, you can make it look the same. And I'll just, okay, now that the air compressor is off. So inks and illustration paints, they have similarities, especially if you thin them down with reducers like 4011. They have similarities, and you can use them as transparent, but inks has a different quality to it. It has almost a greenish tone when you thin it out and you work very light. Also, India inks doesn't break down, so you can water it down a lot longer. You can dilute it a lot longer. There's a lot of chemicals that are in airbrush paints, the illustration line, Wicked, that sort of thing. So there's going to be a lot more reaction. In India inks, the black India inks, not the colored India inks, that's a whole different ball game, so that's not even in the same family as this. India inks definitely allows you to do a lot more as far as diluting and doing very, pushing the dilution and getting a lot of values, in my opinion, in my findings. Now, someone like Drew Blair, working in the illustration, he can make it look exactly the same. So, definitely you can, but just know that one of the reasons why India ink has different properties, because all it is soot. It's soot, water, and a tiny bit of shellac. That's all it is. There's nothing else in there. Soot is like charcoal. Even soot from a chimney is how sometimes India ink is actually made. India ink is an ancient medium. I mean, they've been using India ink, oh my God, I think for over 1,000 years, if I'm not mistaken. So it's a very ancient medium, and so there is a lot of tradition, with the remember the Japanese brush paintings and how you can manipulate it, all that stuff. So definitely you could make it look like it. If you really know what you're doing, you can get the same results. But they do have inherent qualities that are actually very different. And you'll see it when you work in the India inks. You do have more of a fine art kind of feel to it. And of course that's my impressions. It's definitely a different look, and if you go ahead and you go, let's say, more opaque, then you're going to have a whole different look than what I'm working on here. So we're going to lift this up, because I don't want to do too much more with this, but you can see I'm establishing the shirt. So let's go ahead and lift this up. Let's see. And we're just gonna, let's see what we got, guys and girls. Not too bad, not too much ghosting. I think we pretty much, there's going to be some corrections here and there, of course, but not too bad. And as you can see, doing something like that, no longer ignoring that, really lets us know the more work we have in other areas. So that's why I'm a really big proponent or fan of working the whole painting together, right? Because look how light the rest of the face looks when we establish the darks of that sweater, right? Big difference. And we can just continue to develop. We don't need the freehand shield for that. And we're going to darken that background later. So let's catch this up here. Now when you're darkening things up, you want to make sure you don't put too much ink on there, because what happens is it builds up. And if you don't get spidering, which you might, you'll definitely get staining, and you don't want staining at all, right? So that's very important. Okay, so now we did that. We can see we can fix right here. This is where your aim comes in. So I'm going to come in with my light mixture. If you're working in India ink and airbrush, I definitely want you to have a manifold, and I want you to have the 2 airbrush method, where, let's say, like right now I'm probably 55 to 60% into the painting. So you want to have 2 airbrushes going, one for the medium and one for the light. Because if you're just working in the medium, There might be times when light is better, but rather than, you know, wait and reload, you might be tempted to go ahead and do stuff with the medium mixture that you really should have done with the light mixture. So that's why the 2 airbrush method is really crucial. So that's very important. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to look where else. So where are we ignoring, right? Where can we actually put in more information that could bring this along just a little bit? I really love her cheekbone right here. It's really interesting. Got an itchy nose, so let's see. See how that comes down? Just and kind of expands. So I'm going to increase my distance as I come down further. 1 second rule, and I can see where exactly it kind of curves in there. So without the 1 second rule, I would be lost. So look for a second, and then paint for a second. Hey, if an inkjet printer who has a little brain like that can get it right, I can get it right. I just got to get outside of my head, right? That's what we have to do. Remember, you're trying to get reality and you think you can't do it. Are you smarter than an inkjet printer? Yes, you are. So with that, I want you to really, really push it and, you know, say to yourself, I can do it. I just have to increase my powers of observation. I have to be more thorough and see what I see, make sure I look and catch what is there, not what I think is there. That's very important. All right, so we're going to continue working on several areas. The white of her eyes really aren't white at all. So I have the light mixture. Now I'm introducing the medium mixture, but I'm not working the medium mixture all the time. Just wherever I'm painting, if it needs it, I'll have it ready. But right now I'm going back and forth because it's the early part of the medium mixture. So remember I said that the white of her eyes are really super gray. I would say maybe a number 7 or about number 7 or 6, the white of her eyes. So I want to go ahead and do that. Now they're going to pop when we come in with the medium mixture in the eyes, and then the dark mixture. Oh, it's just going to be really great. But we definitely have to make sure that we set things up here. And I'm going to set it up first with the light mixture, and I'm going to be darkening up some of the areas. And I'm going to come right back with the medium mixture. But first, I have to do some things that really is the job of the light mixture. There we go, that's cool. And let's move on over to the other eye, shall we? Let's do that. Okay, this is time for this, right? This is always fun. It's a fun part of our day. Let's go ahead and get that focused. So I was watching Coast Airbrush, and they were having some real big issues with their live stream. It was going out and everything. And of course I'm going to darken the white of the eye there and the shadow side. Okay. So if you guys can, if you have a moment, if you can just hit that share button and share it on Facebook, that would be really cool if you can. So this way maybe someone on Facebook could enjoy it. They don't see it, you know, some of your friends. So if you can do, and just hit it, and then you just share it on Facebook. Okay, we have a real light line coming down here. Little dagger stroke. There we go. See that? This is the detail that you can get with this airbrush. That is a very small eye, and I'm able to go and get that kind of detail with the light mixture. Does Apple products warrant a price? Mr. Todd says. I would say not their PCs. I'll wait till my compressor goes on. I would say, actually, you guys can hear me. So I would say their iPads, yes. Their iPads are amazing, and I think they're worth the price. Definitely. So I'm a big fan of their iPads, but as far as their laptops and their desktop computers, they're not worth. They don't warrant the price because you can get far more for far less using, in my opinion, that's just my opinion and my travels. If you're used to Apple products, then definitely it's worth it. But when it comes to computers, I'm just a fan of Windows. I always use it my whole life. So you see how we are, and then we can definitely darken the white of that eye there, right? You see that? Definitely darken that up. Yeah, the iPad is amazing, and I agree with Mr. Bill there. The iPad is definitely, it's just so much better than every other tablet out there. Plus this thing right here, the Apple Pencil is, let me zoom out here. The Apple Pencil is by far the best pen on any tablet right now. Just the way it handles and everything, so that's really cool. Okay, so we're doing pretty good. We worked on the eyes, but now we're coming in with the medium mixture, and we're going to start darkening things up. Remember, we always begin with the eyes and move on, and then when we get to the end of a certain stage, we go back to the eyes. So the eyes are always first. And so my guess says, Tim, you need to check the air filter on a compressor. Make sure it's not dirty or plugged up. So where is the air filter, sir? Because I am totally ignorant to that, my friend. And thank you for that suggestion, Mike. Oh, Patrick agrees 100% with me. Yes, me too. Thank you, Patrick. I love the iPad, and I love the Apple Pencil. It's just so great. So let's zoom in on that eye and the first eye, and we're going to make some stuff happen here. So what do you think of the lights back there? It's really cool, huh? I'm just trying to give some interest into the background, you know? Let's see. Okay, let's focus this. There we go. And I'm going to get my reference, and I put my reference right there, and let's make this happen. Okay. So with the medium mixture, I don't want any kind of spidering. This is a no spidering zone. And then we are, and you can lower your air pressure on your pack valve for that, if you have one of these airbrushes. And let's do this one as well. And like I said, these are very tuned up airbrushes that are made specifically for low viscosity paint or ink at low pressure. As you can see, I'm getting some really nice lines here. Some beautiful details. Now, of course, this is the medium mixture, guys. And here we can start doing some eyelashes. 1 second rule, okay? Keep that 1 second rule in mind. When you're doing eyelashes, make sure you pay attention to what direction they're going. It's crucial. No spidering. And let's see if we can darken this area up here a little more. Right underneath. Go. Okay, remember I said we're going from the medium mixture to the light mixture. When I see something that we can do with the light mixture, I definitely do not want to try it with the medium mixture. No shortcuts, okay guys? But I really love how we can do this really tight detail here. And zoom out just a little bit. Just make sure we make everything three-dimensional. Everything is being affected by the same light source. The largest shape and the smallest shape are being affected the same way by the light. So we have to make sure that we turn the forms at all times, you know? And Mike says he tried making a stencil for lashes. It worked out pretty good. Hey John, how's it going? So basically, eyelashes are something that, are like free throws for basketball players. You want to practice them every day. And I have some really good airbrush drills. So those who've taken my classes know about my drills, right? So let's move on over to the other eye. So there are things you can do. Hey, what's up, Hillbilly Abel? How are you? Good to see you. So cool. Okay, so let's move on over to the other eye, and we're going to go back to our medium mixture. And once again, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do some darks, but no spiderings. It's a no spider zone. Okay, so you see now I'm going to concentrate on this, and I won't be answering any questions at this point, but I'll be back. Now when you're doing this, it takes utmost concentration and all of your faculties of observation. Please, 1 second rule is everything. Make sure that you lower the pack valve on your Extreme Patriot Arrow, and you are going to be just fine. No eyelashes on this side. And we're going to come over here, and then we have this line, this crease, and we're talking absolutely no spidering. Now, spidering happens, but it's something that you can combat, something you could learn how to circumvent, right? It really is. They are, but one of these days, so Roy knows, and other people have taken my classes, that I have a drill which is specific for eyelashes. And I'm going to show you guys, because I think you guys are very cool, and I'm going to show you some inside stuff, because that's the kind of guy I am. So let's zoom out. I'm going to show you my eyelash drill, so we can get eyelashes that are good, because like anything else, if you practice them every day, when it's time to do a live stream like I just did, or you're working on your painting and you have eyelashes to do, it's going to be just like practice. You don't want to go ahead and start doing eyelashes, you know, at the time when you don't want to do eyelashes during game time. You want to do eyelashes during practice, so when game time happens, it works out. Eyelashes always start with a dot. Remember that. So when you do a dot, and then what you do is you just dagger. Dot, dagger, dot, dagger. Eyelashes are going to be at all different angles. So you have to have dexterity. See that? So when I'm called to do an eyelash, I already did like 500 that week. And you're going to go this way. See that? You're going to do small ones. When you're doing the bottom eyelash, the bottom eyelid, you're going to be doing these type of eyelashes. Remember, it starts with a dot, and then you do a dagger. So no need for any kind of stencils or anything like that. All you need is practice. Dot, dagger, dot, dagger, dot, dagger. See that? Dot, dagger. You're not going to get this information anywhere else. But I thought I'd give it tonight on the live stream for you guys. If you do this, your eyelashes are never going to be weird looking. They're never going to be erratic because you worked on them. This kind of stuff has nothing to do with talent. It has to do with practice. That's all it does. Dot, dagger, dot, dagger, dot, dagger. Long, short. Long, short. Dot, dagger, dot, dagger. Practice them. Practice, practice, practice. Do not, do not let it go where, you're not good at eyelashes. That's not what I want to hear. I want to hear that you're practicing, Hey, Monty, how's it going? So glad you're here. Oh, man, are you feeling better? I'm so sorry. A tiny airbrush is fine, but it's always great to get that airbrush control when you can, And so that's always good. So you see how we're able to, get to that next level. So don't complain. Just go ahead and do the hard work, guys, okay? So that's it. I'm sorry. Hate to give it to you straight, but it's about hard work. Nothing else. And let's go ahead and put it there. It has nothing to do with talent. Talent or natural ability. Nope. This airbrush is basically something that we need to control. That's all it is, And so now we worked on our eyes, which are really great, and I feel good about that. But now that I darkened that part of the eyes, I can see that the white of the eyes are actually a little bit darker. So I'm going to darken the white of the eyes on the dark side. Let's see. Yes, all kinds of lashes, my guests, that's for sure. As you can see, when you darken those eyes, then other areas start to darken up. So I'm going to start gradually with the light mixture and darken up these eye areas. Brush works great, sure, definitely, but You also want to know that you can do it with the airbrush too, right? It's good doing with the brush, but always challenge yourself, you know. And, you know, sometimes you got to ask yourself, is the brush going to give you that really soft feel or something like that? But you want to have the ability to do it if you need to. And you see, I'm just going to darken this up. Okay, so now I'm going to come back in with the medium mixture. Let's see. Make sure we don't stain that surface. Make sure we bring the values in line so, you know, it's not too overpowering. And then we can bring this dark up. And remember, what we do on one eye, we have to do on the other eye. So we're going to get there. I just want to bring up this one shape, bring that together. And so we'll come back there, but you see how we're doing that one shape right there, and also we're just going to work on darkening that eye socket there. So now on to the other eye, right? So let's move over there. Let's see. There we go. Move on my reference. Okay, so looking over here, so I'm going to stay in the light mixture because we're in the light side. So any changes are going to be a lot more subtle than on the dark side. So that's, or I should say lighter, not necessarily more subtle. And you can see where, you know, the values are kind of off here, you know, so I'm going to go ahead and correct them. And we want to make that cheek start turning. So since we're here, let's make that cheek turn. So as you can see here, I just, remember the light is coming from above and to the right. So anything below and to the left is going to start going into shadow. So you see things start going into shadow here as this is turning on her cheek. We got to make sure we express that. And as the cheekbone goes by the eye, it's going back into space, back into three-dimensional space. And so we're going to darken that. And that's going to bring her cheek forward. And that's what we want to do. These are subtle changes in light and dark, and the more subtle, the more distance you're going to have from your airbrush to the paper. Always about turning the forms. That's what everything is really important. Turn those forms, guys. And let's see here. So I'm going to work on this side. So remember, what we do on one side, we have to do on the other side. So when we're talking about turning of the forms, the light's coming from the upper right. And so even on the shadow side, what is to the left and below, or moving in that direction, is going to slowly get darker. Right here, which is, you know, just before the cheekbone, it's getting more light here because in the shadow it's much more light facing than the areas surrounding it. But that's not to say that, you know, the values are not going to be very close to one another, because they are going to be. Because remember, in the shadow side, there are all kinds of details, but usually the values are very close to one another. So that's too harsh. So I'm going to take my kneaded eraser as soon as I find it. And I did have it. And for some reason, my kneaded eraser is the eraser that is going missing lately. So I'm not sure. Oh, here it is. Okay, good. I think this is a brand that has darker value and is sort of blending in with the rest of the stuff that is on my table here. And Mike says he came to the conclusion that when it comes to super details like lashes, use whatever it takes. Of course, definitely. And I agree there, definitely. But I always say, you know, always push yourself technically, you know. Always try and, you know, we have to try and challenge ourselves. So you see I'm blending that out, right? It's much softer. It's not a harsh turn. Remember, when things are more round, the value changes are much more gradual. When things are turning really quickly, like her nose, you see how it goes from light to dark really quick because it's not rounded. It's more oblong and then it cuts in. So always look at that, right? Willie says it must be the cat. I'm not sure what he's referring to, but yes, I do have a cat. Why? Did you hear a cat noise or something? Or what was that? So let me know what it means with the cat. So I don't know. I didn't see her, but I do have a little kitty. Yes, she is great. I love her. So once again, we're just going to establish that light, but we have to make sure that it turns slowly. And this is a job for the light mixture. Oh, that's right, the eraser. That's true. You know, it could be the cat. You know, because, you know, who knows what she does in the middle of the night, right? So very true, guys. And so remember, the light can't be as powerful on this side and on this side. It's an impossibility unless the photographer is using reflectors or whatnot. So I'm going to go about, I want to darken it up, but I don't want to change the detail. So when you do that, you're going to be about 6 inches away and you're just going to slowly pump that trigger and aim right on it. And that's how you can just gradually make it darker without losing any detail. Okay, so now I'm feeling much better about that. It is darker on this side, so I'm going to go ahead and darken this. I want it gradual, so I'm going to make sure that I am a good distance, maybe about 3 inches away or so, which is a good... Yes, she probably does. My cat, that is. One of the things I really want is to always practice, because I practice all the time, and I paint 6 to 8 hours a day, but I still practice my distance and practice my aim. Those two things are going to be incredible tools in your repertoire. You know, incredible. Always look for shapes and how they turn in space. That's going to make the difference in your work looking good, or your work looking three-dimensional and powerful and knocks the other paintings off the wall if you're in a group show, right? So always ask yourselves, you know, how is this form turning? Now the face, like most complex forms, is made up of a lot of different forms, not just a nose, a mouth, but there's a lot going on, muscles and everything, and I talk about anatomy a lot. So, and what that means is that you have the form of the cheek or the cheekbone that comes down and then it intersects with the mouth. And then you have the cylinder here of the teeth, and that is a different form, and that's being affected by the light differently than the cheekbone. So it's important that not only do you just paint the cheekbone, but you also paint what's happening here. And the lip is a different form. And how is that reacting to the light? And how does it intersect with the adjacent form that is right next to it, which is redundant, adjacent next to it, but it's next to, with the adjacent forms, how they intersect, you know? So now you have this form right here, which is the filtrum, or the cupid's bow, and that's being affected by the light. So you have all these forms that are on top of the larger form, or even the same size, and they are next to each other, but they're separate forms. So you have to make sure that you express those different forms. If you don't, then she's going to look like a robot, and that's not good, right? So that's why we have to make these forms turn. There's one form and another form, and it's really crucial that we don't forget that. And of course, these eyes look super dark, but as we come down, they're going to calm down, you know? Hey, that's pretty cool. When we come down, the values of the eyes will calm down. That's a good one. And let's see. Okay, so now that we went ahead and started with the value of the brow of her nose there, let's make sure we show how it actually intersects with the other forms next to it. I'm going to raise my pressure a little bit. I think I'm low on ink because it's, nope, I'm good. So when you ever feel something's different, you know, like the ink's not coming out, usually it's either tip dry or something that's in your nozzle. So, you know, and that usually does the trick, and it did the trick here. So it's all about forms. And so we're going to continue moving around, but you did see that I didn't just leave the brow of her nose just one, you know, harsh shape. I actually painted it the way that it's intersecting with the other forms. Same thing here. There we go. Yes, I definitely always love cake. I made some banana bread last week, and that was just amazing. I really enjoyed that. So if everyone ever, you know, watched me paint over the years knows that I like to move around. Now if I'm painting on my own, I'm going to be moving around like crazy. I'll drive you crazy if you're watching me paint normally, you know, in my normal workflow. I changed my workflow for my live streams so you all will get something from it, you know, get the most from it, you know, so it's very important. When the cat steals 4 cars and sells them, then it's as good as... Yes, definitely. The cat, if the cat starts taking things and selling it, then you have an extraordinary cat, and then it's like get that cat on the Tonight Show or something. Values are close to one another, so you definitely want to make sure. So it's not so much, you know, getting the right value, but making sure that they have the right relationship with the values next to it. But I'm really enjoying how she's starting to come together. And, you know, I'm in no rush. No rush whatsoever. If we have a part 8, it's going to be okay because it's going to make a better painting if we need a part 8. Still with the light mixture. See that? But we're getting a sense of air. I want to darken the light there, but I'm going to increase my distance to about 5.5 inches. And you see how I can just darken that. Now let's work on this nose. Remember, we're working down. So let's work on that nose and see if we can make that nose turn. Remember, the light's coming from the upper right. So to the left, it's going to turn, get darker, and towards the bottom, it's going to get darker. And I will. Thank you, Mike. I'll definitely check that. Definitely. Now, mind you, it's different than my other studio because that was in my bedroom. My compressor was in the closet and the door was shut. So that's why it's much louder now. But I'm not bothering any, you know, I'm not, you know, I work late at night and I definitely don't want to wake people up, you know, and I don't want to be a nuisance and everything. So that's why I moved out here. But the only thing is I don't have a closet now, you know. Hey, Sam, thank you so much, my friend. I really appreciate that. Sam gave me a super chat for $10. That really helps a lot, Sam. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. Always good to see you, sir. So cool, Sam. Sam is a very cool guy. Thank you, sir. And as you see, now we have to make that nose turn. But I'm definitely going to take your advice, and I appreciate that, my guest. That is so cool of you. And let's zoom in on her nose. Such a pretty nose. Okay, so we have her nose. I'm going to get my reference. Remember, 1 second rule, guys, is always great, you know? Always fantastic. Oh, yes, because of the hairs. Is that correct, my guess? Probably what it is, right? The hairs. So I want to make this nose turn. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the terminator, which is up here. The terminator is a spot on the nose or any three-dimensional form where no light is getting to it. And that's why it's the darkest spot. And anything away from the light starts becoming a transition, or I'm sorry, not a transition tone, but a reflected light. Now anything in the other direction becomes the dark light. Okay, so you're going to have this dark light right over here, which is a definite shape, right? A definite shape. And we're going to paint that in with the airbrush. Dander, yes, I can definitely understand that. Great point there, Mike. Thank you. Always love hearing, you know, getting advice from you guys, because we all have, you know, our experiences, and that's how we help one another. So you see how we're making that nose turn, and we're really realizing that although, you know, it may look like that nose is white, it really isn't. It really is a value. When we come in, we're setting up for that white pastel, and it's just going to be this blast of light, and the nose is just going to really pop. It's going to be great. So we definitely have to set up for that nose there. So we're making everything three-dimensional, not just the... So we have, again, you know, when we are working on three-dimensional forms, especially complex three-dimensional forms, there are more three-dimensional forms stacked on top of others. So, right, or they are adjacent to one another. So we have the side plane, right? And then we have the underplane of the nose. And then over here, we have what's going on with the nostril and the wing of the nostril. So we have a lot of forms to really concentrate on and, make sure that we pay attention to them and describe that form. It's all about light and shade. Remember, we're light detectives, not looking for a likeness, but we're looking for the light and what it's doing and what's its MO, you know? And so I'm going to be pumping the trigger there. I'm going to try and get some skin texture. And that's what we're doing too. We're gonna get some skin texture, but we're gonna do it slowly, okay? And again, we're going to work on that cheek as it turns. Try and find the grain of the forms, right? That's very important. Find the grain of the forms. And so I'm gonna zoom out, and we're gonna worry about that cheek again, because it's such a important element in her. The way that her cheek kind of buttresses up against the cylinder of her teeth there. See that really nice line there. And now, since we're darkening things, let's come in with the media mixture and see if we can even enrich some of these darks. That would be great. And it's funny, you know, working, you know, like this, you know, it's really intense. It's intense observation with the 1 second rule and everything like that. And now we're just getting more intense with this dark here. And the dark is actually going to affect the midtones. And if I want to blend, I just increase my distance as I move down to where I'm blending. Remember that. So you see how the actual medium mixture definitely has a different feel than the light mixture. So there's a job for the light mixture that's so important, and a job for the medium mixture. And with time you'll know exactly when to use what, you know? That's so important. Go. So when we zoom out, okay, right here we have this little spot right here. Sometimes I'll use a freehand shield, but I think in this case I don't need it. I'm just going to come here, right underneath that nose, 1 second rule. I'm going to watch before I do it and just establish the tip of her nose there. There we go. Beautiful. And then we'll get our aggressive eraser. There we go. And also with the light mixture we can come in and get that gradation right down there. And remember, we're setting up for that dark mixture and the white pastel. So that's what it's all about, setting up for that, you know, that climactic moment when everything falls into place, that keystone, you know? We'll work on the edge of this lip here, and we can see that this upper lip is a little bit darker than what we have. We're going to look at our values. Refine that shape. Try and find the different forms, how they're being reacted to how they are reacting to the light. And also, if you're too light, you have to just calm that down, increase your distance, and then you can slowly darken it without changing the detail. And that's an important concern. Okay, so now we're just going to zoom out and see what we have, guys. Let's take a look. Great. So now we're doing okay. I'm feeling good. See, when you're developing a painting, you definitely want to develop it very slowly, right? And you can see, like, from this angle, yeah, it looks like we haven't really gotten far. But look at this angle, though. I mean, it's really happening. It's coming together. We're getting a really good feel for this thing, right? And so let me see if I can change the values here, the color, because I think it's a little blue. Let me see if I can add a little bit of a warmer tinge. Am I going in the right direction or the wrong direction, guys? Let's go right there. And then maybe we can kill the saturation a little bit. And let's go a little warmer. Okay, so that's pretty close. So you can see, we have a question here. So Mike S. says, Tim, do you use a grayscale chart to match things up, or do you just eyeball it since you've been doing it so long? What a great question, Mike S., because it's kind of like eyeballing it, yes. But the thing is, it's not like I'm trying to hit those values right away. So it's not like I have some super value, abilities. Is I'm slowly building it up, Mike, and that's what I want you guys to do, and girls, is to slowly build up those values so you arrive there rather than trying to get a value finder and hit that value right away. It's all about building up slowly. And you can always look back on these live streams, parts 1 to 5 or 6 or 7, and really see how it progresses and even speed it up. And you'll see it's I'm not worrying about finding that exact value, but I'm finding the forms and the relationships, and then slowly bringing it darker as we go. So thank you, and so I hope that helps, Mike. And Sam says looks fantastic. Thank you so much. Brad says, Tim, would you say that the most important part of the process is to go slowly? Yes, go slowly is a very important part of the process. And deliberate, right? That's so crucial. So definitely want to do that. And so you see, we are going slow, but we're also going. We're also looking, right? We're not looking to hit a home run. We're not going for the Hail Mary bomb for 80 yards. We're gonna go ahead and drill a couple running plays and throw a couple of screen passes and beat them that way, not trying to achieve it in one shot. I don't want us to be like, cowboys and try and get everything right away. Let's be slow and calculating. That's the best way. And oh, Monty says she's coming. Great, thank you, sir. Sam says, could a person add color even on a tinted paper? Definitely. I do that all the time. But remember, you're working on tinted paper, Sam, so you want to make sure you don't oversaturate. You just have to be very slow in putting your layers of color. But definitely, that's something that I have done quite successfully, too. But when you're working in color in several layers even more, I recommend working on wood, like masonite or, hardboard. That would be really fantastic as well. So that's really good. So, as you see, we're making things turn, we're going slow. So as we're turning that nose, let's do something interesting. We're going to work on the lips before we do any detail. I'm going to do some interesting detail today. Do you do a 5x7 practice piece of her? Did I? No, I didn't this time. I did with my other painting, Francesca's Gift, and you see that she's wearing that houndstooth jacket. When I have something that scares me, then I'll go ahead and do a small version and try and work out some of the things that, are technical challenges. But for something like this, I felt pretty confident, and I didn't do it this time. Great question, Brad. Great question. Okay. All right, so we're moving down her chin and her lip. So we did the upper lip. Let's work on the bottom lip. So let's go ahead and blow her up. Well, we don't want to blow her up, but let's enlarge her or accentuate her. Right? Trying to say this the right way. And let's see, I'm going to move her over. This little cute woman here. Let's see. Oh, it looks like we lost the chat window. Oh, there it is. It's back. Okay. Okay, so now we're going. Actually, this is a job for the light mixture until we need to go to the dark mixture. So let's go ahead, and we got to make that lower lip turn as it comes out of the crease of the upper lip there where they meet. Right? We got to make sure. Wendy says I'm a lip master. Thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that as always. Okay, so I'm looking at my reference, and I'm going to make sure, before I put detail, I got to make sure that I'm making that lip turn in both directions. As you are painting something like the lip, I want you to really feel the grain of the skin, you know, in this case, the thin skin of her lip. I want you to feel that grain. And I want you to squint your eyes and see the big shape first. We'll get to the smaller, real intricate, interesting shapes later. But let's work on those big shapes first. Remember, this is not lips, it's just this really strange shape that's in space being affected by the sun or whatever light source is in the room or outside. So we'll always keep in mind of that space. And you see the lip kind of has two parts, the bottom lip, like two oblong spaces. And you can see it's more evident on this side. And we're just going to make sure that we turn that lip in that direction. So you see what I mean? Do you see that? How that's turning? Just the two parts of the lip there. So we're not really painting the lip, we're painting the light as it reacts to the lip. Don't think of the lip, because if you think about a lip, we have ideas of what a lip looks like. So if we just concentrate on the light and dark and the shadows and making things three-dimensional, then everything takes care for itself. The lip will reveal itself. As it said in the Matrix, there is no spoon. So there are no lips. And when you realize there are no lips, that's when you can paint the lips. I know it sounds crazy, but it's true. No light is reaching where the lip is kind of hanging over the chin, and no light is actually getting there. And that's caused by a cast shadow, not a form shadow. Cast shadows act differently than form shadows. And we're not done with the upper lip either. So if we see something interesting in the upper lip, let's go ahead and take care of it while we're here. Okay, so you see, I mean, it really, now we're going to come in with that so Brad says if I was to blow her up, the lips would be the proper place to start. Very true, very true. And let's see. Oh, thank you, Wendy. I appreciate that so much. And so let's come in with that medium mixture, and we can get some of those darker values. Look at the detail that we can get with this brush, you know? I mean, it's really wonderful. And like I said, it's a detail brush that really has to do with, you know, thin paints and Uh, you know, works great, low air pressure, that sort of thing. But no, it's not. It's not like an all-purpose airbrush. So, but no, if you're looking for like a really beautiful detail where you're gonna do low viscosity paints and you're really gonna get in there, this is definitely the airbrush. And I sell it on my website, and that's paintandglyphs.com. And so definitely check that out. Let me see if I can put a link here for you. There's a link in the description for it, and you can find it that way, which is cool. And let me get that for you. Paintandglyphs.com. And here we go. So you can see, like, at my webpage, you can see everything, like the airbrush, the inks, everything that I sell, which is really cool. So let's go ahead and put that in the, I'm going to go ahead and put that in the comment section right here. There you go, in the chat. So there you go. So click that if you're interested. That would be cool. Camilo says, what needle size do you put in it? That's the cool thing about this, is that it's a 0.30. But the fact is that the needle is very polished, and that really makes a big difference, Camilo. So, you know, like the aerodynamics, when you ever see when they do the smoke going over the car, and that's what happens, physics, it's the longer the needle comes out, the longer that the air and the ink sort of travel, and makes a much smaller cone, quicker, closer to, even closer to the surface of your painting. And yes, I do polish it, and I just use 1000 grit sandpaper, and that works really well. I don't go crazy, but I do polish it, and you know, get rid of any kind of any kind of inconsistencies or anything like that. So here I am with the medium mixture, and medium mixture seems very dark right now because I'm working in the light mixture all day, right? And so okay, so now we can go ahead and zoom out. Let's see how we're doing. Now we haven't even done any light detail or anything, but I think we're really getting her to look like a person. So I'm happy and so far. And remember, when we start a new area, we always want to begin with the light mixture, right? Because we go gradual. We're not making huge decisions, right? And we're not trying to rebuild the wheel right away. We'll get there, we definitely will. So we want to make that chin turn, and we want to make sure that it is not too light and that the values are not too far away from each other, because the more contrast, the more it's going to bring attention to that area. So we want to make sure it's not overly contrast, because that could happen. So here, remember, things turn from left to right and up and down. So on the bottom of that chin, it's definitely turning away from the light, so you're going to see the shadow and the projection from dark to light. You can't escape it. Everything is going to be affected by the light and dark the same way. It might be in a different position, but it's still going to be affected by that light. You can't escape it. And if you don't want your work to look like a cartoon, you have to make sure you address all areas of your painting. See right there? It's too much of a disparity of those values. You got to bring that into line. Otherwise, it's going to be too much attention to it, and it's just not going to look right. So that's important. And I do polish the needle, yes, definitely. And Monty says that he has polished the needles of his airbrush, and definitely does. It definitely does. And thank you for sharing that, Monty. Monty's doing some great things with the ink mixtures, the Airbrush India inks, which is great. Thank you, Monty. And just make this turn. There we go. Okay, so now we got to look at the forehead. Dun dun dun, and so again, we want to make sure that it's turning in both directions, and we also want to make sure that the values are not overly blown out. So I'm just going to be a good distance, and I'm going to make sure that I calm down some of these light areas. I'm going to pump the trigger and just bring things into harmony. Remember, right now the values are too far away, and I'm just bringing those values closer. You have to. Otherwise, there'll be too much attention to one area because the values are wrong and they're too close to one another, in that area, and that's what's going to cause an issue. I personally, so Monty uses 2000 grit sandpaper, and that's pretty cool, and I use the 1000. And there's so many different ways you can do it, and everyone has their preferences, but thank you. I really appreciate that. Monty's way might be better. I definitely got to try Monty's way, 1000 grit sandpaper, but making sure not to change the profile of the needle. Very true, very good point. And you could use Mother's Polish or Dremel tool. Okay, that's very cool. Great idea, my guess. I appreciate that. Okay, so you see I'm calming a lot of things down, so I'm really happy with what we did. And let's calm down this ear here. This is another area where we might be neglecting. So always work on what we're neglecting, right? Let's make sure that we're not neglecting any part of the painting, We don't want to make any part of the painting feel bad. We want to give it attention. So you see how we can, just a couple of lines here can really bring attention, not attention, but really, bring it in line and not look like an eyesore, but look like a positive part of the painting, which is really great. Oh, Patty, have a great night, and I'm working on your airbrush too, and you should have that soon. I'm going to send you a tracking on that as well, Patty. Thank you. And so always great to see Patty. Patty is the best. And my guess says yes, 1000 grit is a good start point. 2000 and 3000 with it. Wow, very cool. Very, very cool. Okay, so now let's go ahead and see where we might have made things a little too strong. I don't know. It's 11:18, so we're getting pretty close. I want to show you guys something that we can do with the light mixture. And this is pretty cool. I think you guys are going to love this or not, who knows. But I'm going to show you anyway. Okay, so we are going to be very transparent, and we're going to start painting in some of her little freckles. See that? We're just going to make sure that we do the 1 second rule and make sure we don't make them too dark. Make sure that we make them different sizes and then not equidistant. That's so crucial. But it's good to go ahead and begin some of the really things that, we might shy away from. Ooh, freckles, can't do it. But, it really isn't too bad. As long as we do the 1 second rule, we should be just fine. See that? We're working on her freckles. And you want to be very transparent with those freckles, right? You don't want to go too crazy. You don't want to do a million of them. You can just do a couple of them and they would really make sense. So that's pretty cool. And I start from a good distance away so I don't get too dark. If you get too dark with these freckles, it could really ruin it. So you got to be very careful that you don't ruin it. And just a couple here. And the freckles will actually get lighter and darker where they are on the face. So they're not the same value everywhere. When it's darker, they're going to be darker. When they're lighter, they're going to be lighter. When it's, lighter in the face. So make sure there are different sizes, some little tiny ones, right? Some bigger ones, and you'll be okay. And just here and there, you don't got to go crazy. You don't have to figure it out first. You can just start it just like that. And then you can go ahead and continue that along the nose here. And let's see. Just a couple of freckles here and there. Remember, far away you won't get too dark. A lot of Irish girls have freckles. I know I've been around Irish girls my whole life because I'm Irish. I guess it's good because St. Paddy's Day is coming up. And you see we can go ahead and do some pores. No time like the present. So you see we're just going to put some texture here. And on the light side, everything's going to be super light. So it's going to be much lighter on the light side than on the dark side. There we go. And if we zoom out, let's see how it looks. Okay, great. You can see we're starting to get some of those pores there, right? And not the pores, but the freckles, and that looks pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with it. And of course, they have to fall in line with the light and dark of the face. So you can see how we can put them in. And some here and there, you don't see too many down this part, but there are a few. And then we can, you know, move over here. So I wanted to show you that you can go ahead and paint them with this technique. You just got to be very, very deliberate. And that's the way to do it. And there's some over here, but on the light side, they're very, very subtle. You do see some, but they're very, very subtle. And some over here. But make sure we don't go too overboard with the polishing, because you can over polish it. And then all of a sudden it's not fitting correctly. So you got to be careful. One second rule is going to keep you from doing something that is not in balance with the painting, what you're painting, I should say. And over here we have some texture. So you see now, when we establish a lot of those value relationships, now we can start putting in some detail, right? Now we can start doing some really good stuff, you know? So Hillbilly says he polishes letter tools with a green or white jeweler's rouge on the smooth side and to let it stop to a mirror finish. Wow, that's great. Thank you for that, Hillbilly. I appreciate that. I love everyone's input. It's so great. I mean, that's what makes this live stream so cool. You know, I've been doing it now for 4.5 years, and every week is great. And just love hearing from everybody. And your input, I've learned so much from everybody, you know. And there we go. Look, we're doing little freckles. Little freckles. So cool. But the trick is to be transparent and make sure they're different sizes, right? And that's very important. Also, values. If the value relationship is too far away from each other, you can calm that down from a distance and actually make sure you don't change the detail, right? So, very important. So look at that, we're at 11:25. That's really cool. So glad that's happening. So we're going to zoom out and we're going to see where we can, accentuate different areas. And I still want to accentuate this spot right here, this turning of her cheek. I mean, it's so important when it comes to, the character of the forms on her face there. There we go. And let's just continue this. So now we're still doing detail, but we're still worrying about the most important thing, which is to get the forms three-dimensional, because if she's not three-dimensional, all the detail in the world's going to look like, something that's on a cartoon character, not getting that three-dimensional feel, right? Which is so important. So we're really setting up, we're really getting to the point where we're getting close to building up this value. So we're in the medium mixture, maybe a medium mixture for another day, another 2 hours. And then at that point, we're going to be coming in with the dark mixture and the white highlights, and things are really going to pop. You'll see. It's really going to look great. The technique it works, right? It's just a really good recipe. So if you haven't purchased my inks yet, go on to the link in the description, go to paintedglyphs.com, and you can purchase the inks, a full set. I'll make sure you have at least 6 months worth, and you can give it a shot. And it's so much easier. It's already diluted for you. You don't have to worry about dilutions and anything. It's just ready to spray perfectly right out of the bottle. And isn't that what we're all looking for? Ready to spray perfectly. No one's telling you skim milk or half and half or what kind of crazy thing people are saying that, it should be. I figured that out for you, and it just works. As the guy from the Oakland Raiders says, just win, baby. And that's what we're doing. Just paint, baby. Just don't worry about dilutions. Don't worry about, these little bottles here. They're ready to go. Go right in your airbrush. Use the light, medium, and dark mixture with the white pastel, and you're going to do something that's really fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Brad. I really appreciate that. And always great to see you guys. 11:29, so you know what that means. So what do you guys think of the lights back there? That's really cool, huh? I'm just kidding. But I kind of like it. It gives some interest to me, Take care, Todd and Mike Gass and everybody. Tonight was intense. I was 2 hours of me working. Take care, John. Little bit of cramping, even though I do 6 hours a day to 8 hours. If I do something intense, just 2 hours, no break, you're going to get a little bit of a cramping. So just know that. So Friday, I believe Friday, if you're not subscribed, subscribe, because this way, el placer es mío, Camilo. Thank you so much. Just go ahead and subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I believe Friday I'm going to put up the interview with Mr. Drew Blair. It's great. You're going to learn so much. Raul, have a great night, sir. And, yep, I will check out that filter. Thanks, Mike. guys, I hope you have a great night. I always give you a full 2 hours. It is full 2 hours, so God bless you. Take care.